Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Vanacore, Sales and Marketing with Cloud9 ERP Solutions. We are glad you are able to join today, and welcome to How to Leverage Acumatica Manufacturing with special guest Melody Moccia from Emery Winslow Scale Company. We're going to have a very exciting agenda today. Let me just kind of walk through and explain what's going to happen over the next hour or so. We're going to start with an interview with Melody from Emery Winslow Scale, and she's going to talk about their journey and the manufacturing challenges that they faced. Also, the key capabilities that attracted Emery Winslow to Acumatica. And we will conclude with the successful partnership formed between the two companies and the significant benefits realized by Emery Winslow Scale Company. After that, Gregg Mercede, CEO of Cloud9 ERP Solutions, will take us through an overview and demo of Acumatica. And then one thing to note as well, if you could, hold your questions to the end and use the chat box, if you could, to place your questions, and we will leave enough time at the end for Q&A. With that said, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Very excited to have Melody Moccia, Director of Administration from Emery Winslow Scale Company, and our CEO and moderator today, Gregg Mercede, CEO, Cloud9 ERP Solutions. With that said, Gregg, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Hi there. Thanks everybody for joining today. We're excited to do this webinar with you all, and really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us today. Today, as Dan mentioned, I want to ask and get started. Melody, if you could tell us a little bit about you and Emery Winslow Company and what you guys do and your position in the market.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Melody Moccia. I am the Director of Administration at Emery Winslow Scale Company. I have a financial background. I'm a certified management accountant, so I work predominantly, I have worked predominantly in the manufacturing arena, and my previous roles were CFOs for small to mid-sized manufacturing companies. Emery Winslow is an industrial scale manufacturer, and the scales that we make get used in lots of different industries. But basically, we weigh trucks. You know, you see those truck scales on the highways. We make those scales. We weigh sea animals, you know, whales, and then everything in between. So it's a very exciting place to be.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks again for being here today. Mel, what made you realize, you know, that your business was coming to the point where you needed a new ERP system?
Well, you know, I was specifically hired at Emery Winslow to select and implement a new system. You know, the company was founded 151 years ago and seen its highs and lows, but for the last 10 years has been on a high. And so the company's just been growing. The system that we've used was, you know, I came and I assessed and I found it inadequate. And so, you know, again, being hired specifically to implement a system, one of the first topics, one of the first projects I set out to do was to evaluate and implement a system. So we just needed to be able to look more at our profitability on a customer level, on an item level, on a project level, manage our inventory better. And, you know, so that was really my goal when I was selecting Acumatica.
Okay, great. And I know that when we first met, you were already looking at quite a few systems. What are some of the things that, you know, you shortlisted software based on maybe features that didn't have, or things that you didn't like, or vice versa?
Yeah, well, you know, it was a little challenging for me because our business doesn't fall into one mold. So we're make to order, we're make to stock, we're engineer to order. And I was looking for a system that was, you know, geared for our size business, but also one that would provide me with the flexibility of using, like, say, a standard cost system for our make to stock stuff, but that had enough flexibility within there for me to be able to tailor my bills of material for our make to order and our engineer to order. So That's what landed me with Acumatica. It was really the perfect fit.
I see. Okay. So some of those capabilities really, I know that one of the capabilities, for example, you use is our manufacturing configurator. Tell us a little bit
hmm
about that and how that's a real game changer for you.
It is, and I love the product configurator. It took me a little while to get used to it and to learn it, and it's everything that it was really the reason why Acumatica was perfect for us, because it allows us to create bills of material basically on the fly, and allows us to add what's called features and options, so that on the sales order processing side, our salespeople have this wonderful mechanism interface for being able to pick everything that the customer is going to want to see. And meanwhile, it's sending that through on the production orders, so that our bills of material are accurate as well. Very, very savvy, very, very easy to use, and really enables us to really create bills of material on the fly. It's outstanding.
That's great. Yeah, we hear that a lot too. Yeah. How did Cloud9 ERP Solutions through the process and now, during services implementation and everything, how did we work to earn and continue to earn your business?
Well, that was an easy one for me, because really Cloud9 stood out among, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 people that were actually vying for our business. It's a crowded market, and there were a lot of systems that we were looking at. I was trying to be very thorough. So, with all of the various VARs that I was dealing with, Cloud9 was the one that was better suited to understand our business, because they were asking the smart questions. When Dan contacted me, there was no hard sell. It was more collaborative. What do you need for your business? Let's see if this fits. I think Dan knew full well early on that it fit, but he was going to lead me down that path gently. But he was great. I mean, and everybody I dealt with from that, from meeting Dan, and then everybody I dealt with at Cloud9 after that, same thing. Where it was more collaborative. It was an understanding of our business and where we wanted to go, and would this system work, and showing me how the system would work. I wasn't getting that. I wasn't getting that from the other companies.
Oh, great. And with now moving ahead, and you have a solution. I know you're a couple of weeks away from going live, and it's been a great process. But going ahead, moving forward, how do you feel that Acumatica can grow with your business? Based on future plans, where do you think we fit in that arena?
Well, yeah, this is a great question, because we do have two sides to our business. So for as much as I am delighted that the software fits well with our Connecticut operations, where we're full on production and we do manufacture industrial products, we have a sister company down in PA, and they have a very different business model in how they manufacture, in how they sell, their customer database. They're a good fit for e-commerce. So I'm very excited about e-commerce capabilities through Acumatica as well. They manufacture, so they're gonna enjoy all of the benefits that I'm gonna enjoy here in Connecticut with the bill of material flexibility, the MRP. They're gonna love all of the things that I'm currently instituting here. But they do have a different business model. So Acumatica is very flexible on many fronts. So it's going to allow us to do that consolidation on the financial side that I'm really excited about, that we're doing manually right now, while really maintaining that segregation and uniqueness in the business models. And Acumatica handles both equally well.
Yeah, we're excited for that chapter, because from a financial consolidation, we have a lot of flexibility from multi-tenant to single tenant. We have the ability, and with both of them, you can consolidate. And then our e-commerce connector is second to none out there, built into the product. No third product. So yeah, we're excited for that chapter as well. Okay,
Yeah.
well, Melody, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. And you're going to hang on with us. We appreciate that. And as Dan mentioned, Q&A, of course, you guys can ask questions in the chat window at any time. You don't have to necessarily wait till the end, but towards the end, we're going to save 10 minutes to go through your questions and answers, and try to get you the answers that you need. So Having said that, the next step in our agenda is to share my screen, and we'll go through and do a quick overview Acumatica demo. So let me get things set up. I'll turn off my camera and I will show my screen here. This one right here. And okay. All right, so what you're seeing here is, let me make sure I can see the audience view, and okay, good, we're sharing. What you're seeing here is Acumatica, and Acumatica is running in a web browser, 100% native web browser capability. So right now I'm running in Firefox, but you can use Edge, Chrome, or you can use Safari, and you can use it through any device as well. So for example, if I were to be on an iPad, you could see there, my dashboard shows up correctly, it's responsive design, makes the screen look very nice, no matter what device I'm working on. Now in the upper right-hand corner, I'm logged in as the admin user. Because of that, I have all the menu options available to me. But Acumatica has user role-based security, so whatever menu items I need to provide or revoke to different users based on their function and their role in the company, I can do that. And we do that not just from an area, not just from a menu area, but also right down to the field level. So we could revoke or make certain fields read only. That's up to your flexibility. Now at the top of the screen, I have a global search. So you can see up here, I can start to type anything, and Acumatica will search through my menu items. So many times, while our menu items are flexible, you can configure them and set things where you want them to be. It always is helpful to be able to search and find a menu item that you're looking for. Now, if I continue across, I could also search through transactions and profiles. Acumatica search through millions of records in milliseconds. So whatever you're looking for, just a few letters of that item, Acumatica will return the results. So you can see here, I found a customer. I found a contact for that customer. I have sales orders here, accounts payable checks, invoices, and all of the information is at my fingertips. So if a customer called me and they only knew their order number or only knew their phone number, Acumatica could return that and I could get to the menu item or the link, the document that I'm looking for right away. Moving ahead, our search results also go through our help. And our help is phenomenal. It's written very much like by business analysts. You could see the way we write the articles. This also is double duty for wiki articles. So you can create any wiki articles in Acumatica, policies, procedures, things like an employee handbook. You can put them into Acumatica, provide rights to them, and put them in certain areas throughout the software. So that's our help. And then lastly, Acumatica has a document management system. So if I move ahead, you can see that it found spreadsheets and images. It could find PDF files. You can attach documents to any document throughout the system. So it could be a sales order or a bill. Any kind of file can be attached, and you could use restrictions, file size restrictions and types to put those documents and ensure that people are attaching the right things in the right places. So moving ahead, as we mentioned, the menu items are very easy to use. If I take a look at sales orders, you can see everything is grouped by different area. You can configure this any way you'd like. There's action cards at the top. So if I could create a new sales order, I could do that here, a new quote, new payment. This is my quick menu, but I have the ability to toggle through my full menu as well. And then on top of it, I can configure what goes to my quick menu, or I can add things to my favorites. So maybe I need the process orders area, and they'll show up under favorites right up here at the top of the screen. So this gives me a good quick ability to control and put menu items the way I want them. Now in the center of the screen, that's where all the action happens. So what you could see here, to me, as my user, a production status is really critical for me. So I really, really like the idea that under my user profile, I can define what screen I go to all the time. And in this case, it's a production manager dashboard. And you can see Acumatica is providing us with information such as late production orders with past due operations, orders to release this week, production orders by status. You could see we have different table views, different charts, counting cards. I can move things around and give users the ability to configure these the way they want to. I can also add new widgets, and you could see all the different types of widgets. Scorecard we talked about, data table and charts we also talked about. Trending cards gives me the ability to analyze a couple of weeks, for example, month over month, week over week, and see what the percentage trend is going. So the dashboards are phenomenal, and the key is we can get to any data in Acumatica. So if the data is in Acumatica, we can produce results to a dashboard, we can produce results to a table view, we can reproduce results for business events notifications, so immediate notifications on any piece of data in Acumatica can get sent out either by email, by text, all sorts of different options. So what we're going to do now is we're going to walk through and demonstrate a sales process. We're going to take a salesperson who is trying to sell a coffee machine, and we're going to go through the opportunity cycle, and we're going to quote it. We're going to convert it to an order, create a production order from it, and complete that production order. So let's get started. So we're going to go into opportunities, and we'll actually take a look at our opportunities here. So Acumatica, again, gives us a table view that shows us all of our opportunities, their various statuses and cycles, opportunity stages that are there. I could double click and drive into any one of these. I can search for anything I'm looking for. So let's say, for example, I type in service. Oh, mistype, service. You could see the search is very easy to use. So it found customers and different subject headings. I can also do filters on this. So I could see my opportunities. I can do different pivot tables in this. So I could see here, here's the opportunity statuses based on different stages, new, open, and won. And I'm showing the estimated closing dates. I could drill down to any one of these areas to find out what are the details for it. Setting up pivot tables in Acumatica takes just minutes. And now if we go back and we create a brand new opportunity, opportunities can be driven from cold leads or warm leads or contacts. In this case, we're going to create it from a business account, customer that we already have. Our estimated close date for this will be 5/8. We expect the customer to make a decision by then. This will be for coffee machines. And we could type a couple letters to select our customer. Notice it doesn't take much. It found a few different customers to search for. Acumatica has unlimited shipping addresses that you can put it against any customer, unlimited contacts that you can put against a customer. And what you see here at the bottom is my ability to do all my CRM activities right here in my opportunity. So for example, if I wanted to add a note to this, I can click on Add Note and give it a note description. Save it. And now what you'll see here is all of my activities for this opportunity, but these activities also roll up to the customer and against the contact. So from wherever you are in Acumatica, you'll be able to see these activities. Acumatica supports integrated email. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. Follow-up task reminders, pop-ups, just like Outlook. So you have a number of different activities, phone calls, and things that you can track here. Now, as I start to work with this opportunity, the first thing I'm going to do is open it up. I have different reasons for opening it up, different stages. So opportunity stages. This helps with your funnel reports. How many opportunities in value or quantity do I have in these various different stages? So we're going to bring this to qualification and then work it through those different stages as a sales process. Now we know that this particular opportunity is going to use a Gregg coffee machine. So I type a few letters of that and I can find the item. Acumatica will show this customer's price or level price over here. I can make changes to this price or provide a discount right here. But this just gets us started with this opportunity. Now from here, I can go in and create multiple quotes against this opportunity. You'll notice Acumatica gives you the ability to do estimating. So you can estimate custom jobs and work with the different costs needed to create those production orders and come up with a final price. But let's get started with our quote. We'll add a new quote here. And this quote will be based on this particular document, the Keurig machine that we were looking at. Notice over here, our opportunity amount is $199. That was automatically selected from the item that we're putting into this opportunity. So let's take a look at our sales quote. Again, we can have multiple different quote revisions. This current one is in the status of draft. We can make changes to this, maybe add an additional quantity, or again, play with the different discounts. Acumatica gives you the ability to put discounts at a certain level, so salespeople can only go down to a certain minimum margin if needed. We can submit this quote and either print it out. So we'll take a look at this quote. You can see the quote here. We can email it out. We'll go back for a second and take a look at the quote again. So we can email it out with a custom email message and our signature. We can automatically send it out from here. You can see the status changed. And also notice the activities. Again, we had opportunities. In our opportunity, we had a number of different activities, but now we have our activities against the specific quote. So we can track this. And Acumatica's email integration provides the ability for any replies to get flown right back in here. So I can see the entire threaded conversation and follow it right to the end. Now, if we go back to our opportunity, we have a reply here that says, sure, I'll take it. So we'll go back to our opportunity. And we'll close it as 1. We can give it a reason. Maybe the relationship was what's forged this win, or the technology. These are all custom configurable, so you can put any reasons that you want to track your opportunity cycle. And now from here, I have the ability to create this as a sales order. So we'll do that now. And you can see Acumatica will bring up the sales order. We have the ability to send out sales order acknowledgments to the customer. We can do that automatically, or again, send out an email to the customer and see the activities flow into this order. This particular item is marked as I'm scrolling to the right here, marked for production. That's automatic to this particular item. So if we go in and we drill into our stock item profile, this is our stock item profile, which gives us a lot of different settings for defining our items. So you could see here, for example, we can define our valuation method. We support standard and specific, as well as average and FIFO. We support serial and lot tracking, different units of measure, different conversions to those unit of measures. We look at our manufacturing tab. This is the bill of material that we're using to produce this item, the default bill of material. We support configuration as well as planning bill of materials as well. We'd mark this as a default for production. So this is a made to order type item. And that's why in the sales order, we had that checkbox automatically set, so that every time a sales order uses this item, we can automatically create production orders to get those orders fulfilled. We also support solid MRP. So from a forecasting standpoint, if you're looking for safety stock or minimum order quantities, Acumatica can suggest, based on sales, your ability to keep these items in stock so that you can fulfill them on a regular basis and get the maximum amount of margins you can out of these items, keeping them on the shelf for quick turnaround. So let's close this stock item. And what we could do here, and we could do this from a mass screen as well, a mass process screen, but we could look at our production orders for this particular sales order. If you have a number of sales orders created throughout the day, you can do this from a more global screen and create all of them from a top view. So we'll click this particular item that we want to create and hit the create button. And now not only does Acumatica create the production order, if we scroll over to the right, and keep in mind these columns are movable. You can move them over and turn off, turn on columns, anything that you want. But you can see over here, we also have a link to our production order. Let's open that up. So this is our production order maintenance. You can see at the top, we have a production number. This is the inventory ID we're creating for this particular warehouse. When it's completed, it will be delivered to this bin location. The current status is planned. We're going to change that in a second. We're producing quantity 2, and again, at a specific measure. We could do that and change that, and our conversions will create the appropriate amount, each amount. You could see we have a scheduling method. So our sales order requested this right away. So therefore, our constraint is 423. But if the customer needed this to be pushed ahead a couple of weeks, not a problem. We could finish this production order on this particular date using the lead time that it takes to create this item. But we have other options too. You can start it on a specific date or use user-definable dates for this production order. Now, if we move over to the references, you can see, from the sales order, we had the link to the production order. We clicked on it, that brought us here. But that's very useful because from a sales standpoint, I may have a customer that asks me about a sales order that I fulfilled. And with that sales order, maybe I want to check on the production status, and it's just a click away. On the flip side, here I am at the production order, maybe I'm the shop floor manager, something changes in production, maybe I'm ahead of schedule, maybe I'm behind. I have the ability to drive right into the customer or the sales order and call that customer or email them and give them the appropriate change or ask them an additional question maybe on their production. You could see over here, our source is a bill of material, but as we talked about, the source could have been an estimate or a configuration, something customizable that's specific to this. Or we could produce items. Acumatica supports phantom items, nested items, from different production orders. So in this case, we're creating it from a bill of material. Now moving ahead, you could see an event history. So what this does is it gives you the chronological history of this production order. So you could see here, it tells you who did it, what time they did it, and the relating document. So you could drill right in and see more details on it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is release this to the shop floor. And again, with Acumatica, we have process screens to do things in mass. So you don't have to do each item individually. You can do them one at a time, or you can do them from a process screen. And our process screens have schedulers on them. So you could schedule things to happen every hour, every day, once a week. We have a whole scheduler built throughout Acumatica. Now, if we take a look at our production ticket, you can see it right here. This is our traveler that gives us the information that's required to produce this item. So our first operation is in this work center. Our capacity is this work center right here with this kind of labor. And these are the items that we need to complete this assembly process. And then we have an inspection stage as well. Now, if we go back to our production order, we have different features such as our critical material, being able to see what items are necessary. But before we get there, let's take a look at our production detail. So this, in effect, is like a bill of material, but it's specific to this production order. Now, before the status is released, I have the ability, if I have the rights, to tweak this and maybe make some last-minute changes. So as earlier you saw the traveler report just a few minutes ago. We have the ability to go in here and change, but you can see here's the assembly stage and the items that are needed, the different steps required to get through this operational step, tools that are maybe required, and we can associate costs against those tools, overhead, and apply different factors against the total of this work center and the amount of labor that's going into it. And then we have the ability to take a look at totals. Now, in my production order, I have this screen also from a top level view where I can see my planned, actual, and variance costs against the assembly and inspection. But this gives me the ability to see it on an operational stage from a different step stage. Acumatica also lets you take different processes, different steps, and outsource them. So you can use different vendors and get those costs to track against your production order or against your specific step, have those costs roll up. So if we go back and we take a look at this production order maintenance, We go into our action screen. We have the ability to create different transactions, of course, against this production order. So if we scroll, move this over a little bit, and we go back over to our production order menus, you could see Acumatica with the menus, we have the ability, all of the different transactions are neatly set accordingly against the transactions area. And everything we do, we support barcoding through a mobile device as well. So the ability to create labor transactions, associate labor to our production order, the ability to create move transactions, navigating or moving through the different operational steps, assigning materials to this production order, are all done here, but then we have the ability to use mobile devices to scan. So you can create these transactions directly to your production order, or you can do it from the production order itself. And notice we have a time clock here. This gives users, employees, the ability to clock in and out of a production order and show the various steps that they're doing. So we take a look at that clock in, clock out screen. You can see it right here. I can clock in with my particular user, current user, against a certain production order, against a certain operational ID and a shift. So we have different shifts that you can put in here against the work center. So you can clock in and clock out and associate that labor cost directly to the production order. Now, you may have noticed inside our production order detail, we have the ability to backflush. So we can backflush materials as well as labor against this production order. So you could decide, do you want to do that and have those set costs accordingly? Or do you want to track your individual labor or the individual items against the production order? That's your choice. Now, if I go over here to the same production order and we create a move transaction, we'll open that up. Acumatica knows our next logical step is this operational ID right here, which is the assembly step, to perform quantity 2 during this assembly step. And this will move us to the next step. Now, Acumatica has the ability to do that, but we can also jump ahead for the purpose of the demo. I'll jump to the final step and I'll release it. Now, if we go back to our production order and we refresh, you could see Acumatica saw that we printed a report, we created a cost transaction, a move transaction, and order complete. So it filled in the items that we needed to do. And if I click on this batch number, this document associated to the cost transaction, you could see Acumatica created all the financial transactions, created all the GL entries against this, and I have links from this vantage point. I have links back to the production number, to the item, and the batch number. Okay, and again, from a production standpoint, you could see our planned labor, our actual, and our variance. And if you're backflushing everything, you're probably not going to see much variance, but this gives you a good idea of that. Okay, so that's our, if we go back to our dashboard, that's our quick manufacturing and Acumatica overview. You could see some of the numbers have changed here in terms of the orders released and the orders to release today. But this dashboard is real time. It'll constantly update. And I think, I don't know how we're doing on time, but I think we're done for our quick overview. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, Greg, we do. Thank you for that overview, by the way. That was very informative.
And we're a little ahead of schedule, Dan. So what we could do, if the time permits, what we can do on some of the questions is maybe show some of the areas so that at least it's more of a dynamic demonstration. But let's see what comes up and we'll go through the questions.
Yeah, no, we've got some good questions here. Are you ready to get started?
Sure.
So the first question, Greg, is my environment is a mix in terms of engineer to order, make to stock. How does Acumatica handle some of those different environments within manufacturing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as we looked at before, you know, our ability to take a look at a stock item and set up the defaults is certainly there. So, you know, this particular Keurig item, if we looked at before, we normally make this to order, but we also have it as MRP. We can have different configurations, different estimating, but the process is flexible from sales all the way up to production. So you have a lot of flexibility, and you can do it at a production order, at a sales order level. You'll have that right from A to Z.
Excellent. I've got another question here from an attendee that says, I've had a lot of trouble managing my budget and manufacturing costs with my existing system. Can I tie Acumatica manufacturing back to financials to help track my manufacturing costs to budget?
Yes, yeah, and the cost transaction we showed before with that transaction number, if I take a look at a production order number, one of the things you can see about Acumatica is our ability to drill in directly. If we look at our event history, for example, this one's not done, but if we take a look, we'll go into our production orders and we'll take a look at those. I open it up on a different tab and we can sort and filter anywhere here. We'll look at the completed ones. We could see, if we open up any one of these, you can see all of the transactions that were created. So if we go to event history, you can see all of those, and you can drill right down to the GL from here. So this gives you a lot of capability to be able to see from a magnifying glass what happened throughout this whole transaction. Okay.
Okay, so I have complete visibility.
Yes. And a lot of
Okay.
financial control also, the ability to, use different GL accounts based on item, based on production order type, all sorts of different things. You can roll up your costs. We have a lot of flexibility financially.
That's fantastic. I've got another question for you if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, this one is, what is the process for loading data into Acumatica to support this functionality?
So Acumatica has import and export, what we call scenarios. And they're great because once you create an import scenario, you can continue to reuse it over and over again. Many software packages, it's a wizard and it's a one-time thing, and you have to set it up every time. But Acumatica's imports can import to any screen in the software, to any field in the software. So there's no limit. So whether that's importing all your item SKUs, something we do in an implementation process, whether that's importing all of your bill of material details. If we take a look at our bill of materials, we'll go into right here. Those are all our different bill of materials. So these are all the inventory IDs and the bill of materials against them. Take a look. They look very much like a product, a production order detail, but you can see all of the different things that are required. And these are all things we can import to. So we can import this and do this in a mass. And, we can import from anything from CSV to Excel spreadsheet. We have a lot of flexibility there. And as I said before, if this is something that changes all the time, or if you're using an outside software to build this, we also have APIs to every screen, every field in the software.
That's awesome. It sounds like Acumatica just provides a lot of flexibility and ease of use when it comes to that.
Yeah, and integration. The integration services are second to none.
Well, Gregg, we have another question, but it's not for you. It's actually for Melody.
Okay.
So the question for Melody is, can Melody share a little bit more about their implementation timeline and whether they took a phased approach? How much, if any, customization was needed to support their business processes?
Yeah, sure. I can address that. Yes, we are taking a phased approach for our implementation. We've been at this for about a year now, which I think is actually not so bad, given that we didn't have even a perpetual inventory from which to begin with. So we're doing a lot of things manually, but we're at the point now where we're ready to go live. And we are taking a phased approach. After we do this first round of implementation, our second phase will be barcoding and scanning. So we're really excited about that. That's just the next level of automation that's
Dan, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah, but I
Yeah,
can't,
I
I
think we
couldn't hear
lost
Melody.
Melody.
Okay.
Melody, are you still there? Yeah, it looks like we lost Melody.
Yeah,
Hopefully she'll
okay.
come back soon. And
Yeah, hopefully she'll come back in. We do have, while we're waiting for Melody, we do have a few more questions, Greg, if you're up for it.
sure, no problem.
So, one question that came in was, I have a base product that we sell, and it has, I can add multiple features to it. So I can add options and so forth. Would Acumatica Manufacturing be able to handle that for me?
Yeah, so we have a configurator, and that's a good opportunity to show it. If I create a new sales order, we'll just start with a sales order, but we could do this from a quote standpoint. We'll go in and select a customer, all right, and we'll add the item. And again, adding an item, very easy. So we'll type a few letters of that item, and we want a configured door. So this is a configured door item. We'll pick quantity 1 for this. And we can click the configure button, and we have the ability to custom configure this particular item. So when you set up your configuration, there's certain checks and balances. You can store attributes against this particular production order, things that are going to be needed on the shop floor perhaps. So what is the door height, the door width, and all that? You can change all those kinds of things. If I go over to options, I have the ability to select the jam. I can select the archive. And you notice as I'm doing the right thing as a user, I've selected the right required options. Acumatica is giving us a green checkbox, and then maybe the finish. So you can configure things. You have the ability to configure things based on either complex formulas or just standard options. And when I finish this, and I close it. Now this particular, as Melody mentioned earlier, this particular configuration will get driven to my production order with all the necessary bells and whistles that I configured with the customer on the phone. You notice also the price got built based on my different options. So hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. And then a part of that came into, is there a way to visualize or see the finished product via a file that shows me a picture of the product?
Yeah, so what we can do as and when the production order is complete, because of our document management system, we have the ability to attach any pictures to this particular sales order. Those pictures can either be emailed out to the customer. We have a customer portal where customers can log in and maybe take a look at their sales orders. So that's an option also. But yeah, you have the ability to share that information with your customers in many different ways.
That's fantastic. And then another question came in too, which I think is very relevant for the current situation we're in across the country. Is I have a lot of folks that work remote and travel to our different manufacturing facilities, and they need access to Acumatica Manufacturing, let's say on a personal device. Is Acumatica mobile? Can I access all of what I'm seeing here when I'm out on the road?
Yeah, so Acumatica has a phenomenal mobile app. It's supported on iOS and Android. If you're doing warehouse type functions with barcode scanning, we always recommend Android because the types of devices out there are very well suited for barcoding. But even with an iOS device, you can take a picture of a barcode and automatically use that. But on top of that, yes, we have extensibility through every different screen throughout Acumatica. So out of the box, we have a number of different common screens, but with Acumatica and our mobile app, you can add new screens with just a simple configuration file. It's very easy to add any screen, any of these menu items, and add them to the mobile device without waiting for a new app download, without waiting for a software company to basically come up with new development. It's on your system, and you can add a new screen anytime you want.
And that comes standard out of the box. I don't need to add anything additional to access Acumatica on a mobile device. It comes standard.
Comes standard out of the box. Our warehouse management, the ability to do, for example, pick, pack, and ship, or the ability to do scanning and mobile. Those are various options.
Fantastic. I had another follow-up question. I don't know if Melody's back. If she is, that's
I
great. Or
am
maybe,
back by
oh,
audio.
fantastic.
Can you, I'm so sorry, I don't know how much of my last response you heard. I am having technical difficulties, so I'm able to call in, but I'm not able to see the screen. But I'm available to answer that question again or any other question.
Sure, Melody, if you want to finish up the last part of the question,
Yeah,
and then we have another one for you as well.
Melody, I think
Okay.
you started to talk about your implementation timeline and how you had completed and why you went with a phased approach. And I
Right.
think that you were just about ready. You're just about done, and then we stopped hearing you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, so yeah, we are taking a phased approach. Phase one was obviously the production, financial, sales order processing, and we're there. We're ready for that. Phase two will be barcoding and scanning. I don't know if that came through. And then our phase three will be our other affiliated companies, and we'll bring them on board as well. As separate tenants. So we are taking a phased approach. And to answer the question about customization, if that didn't come through when I was speaking, no, we are not customizing the system at all, other than a few forms, because we're a little quirky with how we want some of the layouts to be. But out of the box is really satisfactory for us on every front. There's really nothing that we have to touch. So we're very excited about that. Very.
That's fantastic, Melody. Thank you. I think you may have answered some of this question. I'm gonna read it anyway because I don't want to miss anything.
Sure.
If Melody comes back in, can she clarify what was in your phase one scope and how much of the processes were met out of the box versus needed to customize the system?
Yeah, and I think Melody read that
Yeah.
that question, right, Melody?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was part of the first question. So if it's a
Yes.
reiteration, but yes, it's out of the box. Really, we're not customizing any of the functionality at all. And yeah.
Now, I will add to everybody in the audience, Acumatica's platform. Acumatica is a very tech company. So with financial background, the founder, a few of the founders owned Solomon, which became Dynamics SL, now acquired by Microsoft. So a lot of ERP experience, legacy experience, but from a tech standpoint, you talk about customization when you need it. And you could see Melody didn't need it throughout her whole process for her big business. But when you need it, Acumatica is very easy. There's many different options for no-code customizations. But on top of that, I have customers going back 7, 8 years that are using the same customizations and they've never had to touch anything, and they're on the latest versions of Acumatica. They've upgraded dozens of times. So from a standpoint, if you do need, we have a lot of flexibility to make changes to the software if needed. When you talk about phased approach, of course, you want to phase and try to use everything out of the box. But from a standpoint of when you do need to do it, there's no better environment than Acumatica to do these kinds of changes.
We have another question that came in, and thank you everyone for providing these questions. They're fantastic. But we have another question for Melody.
Okay.
Did Melody, did you use any outside consultants for the implementation? And if so, what capacity?
No, well, aside from Cloud9, who is, our trusted partner on every level related to this implementation. No, I didn't need anybody else. They have the experts on staff. So, from a general ledger, it was great because I could talk to Gregg about financial reporting, how it was based on FRX type fields. And look and feel of the financial statement. So I had Gregg as my expert on that end. I have a full support staff on Gregg's staff for the manufacturing side. So I really didn't need anybody outside of Cloud9. It's a one-stop shop.
Awesome. So you found everything that you needed 100% when it came to implementation and product questions, Melody, through Cloud9 ERP solutions.
Yes, not only that, but I got Cloud9 to actually work with other members of our staff to, help them understand. Sometimes you got to throw out the old and bring in the new, and here's how this functionality will help you do that. So I use them in greater ways than I even thought I would be able to use them. with communicating with the rest of the staff about understanding the business. So it wasn't even just learning the functionality of Acumatica. It was, using Cloud9 to educate, to understand our business and be able to marry the two, our business with the software. And that's all through Cloud9.
Awesome. That's so good to hear. Fantastic. There was one more question too that came in for you as well. And you may have talked about it according to this question, what were the key top 3 things that narrowed you down to Acumatica and Cloud9 ERP solutions from the other vendors?
Well, again, I liked the look and the feel. I liked the way I was able to drill down into everything, the navigation, just the usability. It was better with Acumatica to me and other users here who were helping me evaluate the systems. By far, the greatest was the manufacturing, the flexibility with the product configurator, the drill down capabilities. I mean, like Gregg was showing in his demonstration today, you can go from one place to the other all the way down to the beginning levels of everything. So from a production order, I can go right on down to the chart of accounts on the GL side. So it was that drill down capability. And I don't know if Gregg will remember this, but I was so super excited, and I remain super excited about pivot tables. You can do pivot tables right within Acumatica.
Yeah.
It's really savvy. It's just so cool. I've not seen anything like it. And it works really well. It's very easy. I have other people now that I've been able to teach them how to, do some analysis using pivot tables right out of Acumatica. So that was another real strong. I'm an accountant, so the finance stuff matters. So in addition to production and manufacturing and all that flexibility, pivot tables and drill down capabilities were my 3 big things.
Awesome. And if you had to think of one thing that you would do differently, if you had to do it all over again, what would it be?
With this implementation, probably nothing at all. I really, I came here, I was hired specifically to implement a system. And, so being a very new person here, you kind of have to prove yourself. And I just am delighted with my choice and how my choice in both selecting Acumatica and Cloud9 really made me look great with my new employers. I'm still riding on that. I think that they have more faith in me in all the other areas that I handle because they are so happy with the choice that I made with Acumatica and Cloud9. So I can't think of a thing I'd do differently, honestly. I mean, I'm sure if I gave it a little time, I'd see something that I did wrong. But right now, I'm still, really very excited and happy, and I haven't encountered anything I'd do differently.
That's fantastic to hear, Melody. Thank you so much for that great input and response. I think we might be done with questions, Gregg. I don't see any more coming up, and we're right at the top of the hour.
Yeah. Okay. So again, first of all, thank you so much, Melody, for being our guest today. We know that you're busy. We know that you have a lot of responsibilities and you have a lot going on. For you to take the time today to, speak in front of all these attendees, that we have a big crowd out there, and it's awesome. We really, really do appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank all of our attendees too. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules and coming to see what Acumatica is all about, coming to see the experiences that Emery Winslow and Melody have gone through. And of course, the overview we did, of course, I went through opportunity, make to order type of flow. We have many different workflows, configurable workflows in Acumatica. Reach out to us, let us know. We love to do a demo specific to your company, to your needs, and to take you through to the next chapter, your ERP search.
Gregg, thanks. If you could flip, I've got just a couple more conclusion slides that I'd like to share with the group.
Sure. I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
And we'll make you the presenter.
Thank you, Gregg. And we would be remiss if we didn't plug our next event. Of course, this is going to be on Thursday, May 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a virtual lunch and learn hosted by Cloud9 ERP Solutions. So keep a lookout for that, and we should be getting that information out to you. So we look forward to you attending that. We want to definitely thank you for your time today, like Greg and Melody mentioned. We really appreciate you being on our webinar and taking the time out of your busy days. And as Greg mentioned, if you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you and have a discussion around your business and your needs and how Cloud9 ERP Solutions can be of assistance. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. We appreciate it.
And we'll leave that slide up for a little bit.
Yep. And also, just really quick, if there are any questions whatsoever that we didn't get to, please forward them on and we'll be happy to get a response out to you.